Worldwide news for week 18 2021. Report for America fights crisis in local news, expands into 200-plus newsrooms with 300 journalists. Report for America today announced the placements of some 300 journalists for its 2021 reporting corps. The cohort, which includes a number of corps members returning for a second or third year, will join the staffs of more than 200 local news organizations across 49 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico and Guam. The corps is diverse, with 135 journalists of color, at 45%, more than double the percentage found in the majority of America's newsrooms. These reporting positions come at a critical moment, when many local newsrooms are closing, leaving a vacuum of trusted, accurate information that is being filled by partisan news sites and online disinformation that threaten our democracy. On April 27, 2021, WHO announces global immunization strategy to save 50 million lives by 2030. The World Health Organization and partners called on April 26, 2021, for an action to boost the vaccination against measles and various other diseases worldwide after the routine jabs have been severely disrupted by the pandemic. The WHO chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus stated that to avoid multiple outbreaks of life-threatening diseases such as yellow fever, measles, and diphtheria, it must be ensured that routine vaccination services are protected in every country. The new vaccination strategy to boost the immunization services worldwide aims at achieving 90% coverage for the essential vaccines that are given in childhood and adolescence by 2030. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, USHRF, has recommended that India be included in a list of the most serious violations of religious freedom in 2020 for the second year in a row. The Ministry of Public Information pointed out a number of human rights issues in India in its Human Rights Report 2020. The main focus of the report is on two countries/regions. The Country of Special Concern, CPC, is a country designated by the Secretary of State of the United States that has seriously violated religious freedom under the IRFA, International Religious Freedom Act of 1998. Countries on the special watch list are considered to not meet all the standards of the Chinese Communist Party, but engage in or tolerate acts that seriously violate religious freedom. USHRF is an independent two-party committee of the United States federal government dedicated to defending the universal right to freedom of religion or belief in foreign countries. It is an advisory body to the U.S. Congress and is headquartered in Washington, D.C. The ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, launched a 5-point announcement on the Myanmar crisis. Under the statement, the ASEAN countries have demanded immediate cessation of violence. The 5-point consensus used to be created between the ASEAN international locations and the modern army leader who seized power. There have been huge protests in the United States of America considering the Navy coup. The consensus is being criticized that ASEAN is encouraging a Navy coup. Also, the consensus did not mention a timeline. It also not noted the political prisoners in Myanmar. Brunei is the current chair of ASEAN. Myanmar gained independence from Britain in 1948. Between 1962 and 2011, the USA was dominated by means of armed forces. It used to be the ruling navy that modified the name of Burma into Myanmar. The House of Representatives in the U.S. these days surpassed a consignment to make Washington, D.C., the 51st U.S. state. The Washington, D.C. admission bill is being surpassed for the second time in a year. The bill will create the country of Washington, Douglas Commonwealth. It has been named after Frederick Douglass. Washington, D.C. is formally recognized as Columbia. It is the capital of the United States. It is positioned on the Potomac River. It borders Maryland and Virginia. The District of Columbia statehood movement targets to make the Columbia District a U.S. state. This will provide the taxpayers with voting representation in Congress. Eventually, they will receive full manage over the local affairs. At present, the Columbian District is under the direct jurisdiction of the U.S. Congress. The United Kingdom has become the first country to announce regulation for the use of self-driving vehicles at low speeds. The UK wants to be at the forefront in rolling out autonomous driving technology. The government of the UK forecasts that around 40% of UK cars will have self-driving capabilities by 2035. This will create 38,000 jobs in the country. The speed limit of the ALKS is to be set at 37 miles per hour. The ALKS shall drive itself in a single lane. New Zealand is about to become the world's first country to bring a law into force that demands environmental accountability from financial firms by asking them to report on how their businesses affect climate change. The aim is to bring the financial sector on board with the efforts being made towards achieving the country's target of becoming carbon neutral by 2050. The New Zealand government first revealed its plans to compel the financial sector to make disclosures in September last year, informing that those unable to disclose would have to give explanations. The number of new COVID-19 infections in India has officially passed 20 million cases, even as the government says that infection rates are coming down. India says infections have consistently dropped since 30 April, when it recorded more than 400,000 cases. It reported 355,832 cases on Tuesday. Experts say the number of deaths and infections are being underreported. In the capital Delhi, an oxygen crunch has shown no signs of abating and people are struggling for treatment. The city reported that 448 people died on Monday, another record toll. Delhi's government has said it wants the army to run COVID care facilities and intensive care units. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has repeatedly said that the city is not getting enough oxygen from the federal government, which allocates oxygen quotas to states. But federal officials deny there are shortages, saying the challenge has come from transportation. India produces thousands of tons of oxygen a day, but some experts say the supply crunch comes from a lack of investment in distribution networks. Officials have also been urged to find more sites for cremations as the city's morgues and crematoriums are overwhelmed by masses of COVID deaths. A sluggish vaccination campaign has compounded the crisis. Despite being the world's biggest producer of vaccines, there is a shortage of supplies. Since January, just over 10% of India's 1.4 billion people have had one dose and only about 2% two doses. The chief executive of India's Serum Institute, the world's biggest vaccine manufacturer, has warned shortages will last for months. Adar Poonawalla told the Financial Times the institute had been unfairly maligned over the lack of supplies. COVID-19 cases, positivity ratio started declining. According to data released by the National Command and Operations Center, NCOC, 79 deaths and 4,213 cases were reported in a single day. As many as 670 ventilators were in use and the number of active cases, which had surpassed the figure of 90,000 last week, stood at 87,953 on Monday, May 3, 2021. During the third wave of COVID-19 in February, the number of daily cases and positivity ratio stood at around 1,000 and 3%, respectively. The trend started moving upward as 6,127 cases were reported on April 17, while the positivity ratio surpassed 11 PC. However, the number of daily cases and positivity ratio have been declining since last week. Special Assistant to the Prime Minister, SAPM, on Health Dr. Faisal Sultan said the government vowed to vaccinate 70 million people by the end of the current year. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, recently launched a joint military exercise in Albania, called Defender Europe 21. Thousands of military personnel from the United States participated in the exercise. The Defender Europe exercise is an annual U.S.-led transnational exercise. It is defensive in nature. It focuses on containing aggression. The focus of work in 2021 is to establish operational readiness and interoperability. More than 28,000 troops from the United States and its allies are participating. Saudi Arabia will work with the Norway, United States, Canada and Qatar to form a net zero producer forum for oil and gas producers to discuss how they can support the implementation of the Paris Climate Agreement. Saudi Arabia exports the most crude oil in the world. The forum will discuss ways to achieve the goal of zero carbon net emissions to limit global warming. Saudi Arabia also stated that its goal is to reduce carbon emissions by producing 50% of the country's energy from renewable energy sources by 2030. The President of the United States recently announced a plan to cut 2005 emissions by 50% to 52%.